Hey, guess what's happening on this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with your friend and host, Oscar Camejo.
Hey folks, guess what? There is no doubt that regular exercise can have a dramatic effect on your health, especially if you're focusing on losing weight and reversing type 2 diabetes. But you know what? It's not just about exercise. We also have to focus on nutrition as well. You see, having diabetes doesn't mean it's the end of the road where your health and life are concerned. It actually could mark the beginning of a brighter future. So you may be thinking, okay, I need to exercise more and I'm going to be able to lose weight and I'm going to be able to take this diabetes diagnosis and turn things around and just control everything that my body is dealing with. Yes, you want to focus on exercise, but it's not just about exercise. Everything that you do to lose weight and reverse type 2 diabetes will depend on the decisions that you make today. You see, it all depends on what you choose to do with the opportunity that's set before you. You know, Martin Luther King once said that the true measure of a man is not how he performs in times of comfort and convenience, but rather how he performs in times of conflict and controversy. You see, my friend, you could be dealing with all kinds of issues. Maybe it's type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol, or some other chronic illness. But the point is, you want to live healthy. You want to turn things around, but you may be struggling. Matter of fact, you may be waist deep in the struggle of your life right now when it comes to diabetes. And it just feels like you're in an uphill battle to lose weight and just really turn things around. I can relate. I've been there. You know, every day seems like it's a battle, right? You versus your cravings, you versus the mental struggles of wanting to give up, cave in, and quit, you versus the constant negative self-talk and the outside noise that's flooding your mind almost every day. The struggle is real, my friend, I know. So that's why in today's episode, I want to encourage you to do something significant. I mean, really, really significant. And that is to challenge yourself. It's time to push yourself to do whatever it takes to get results. I'm not talking about short-term results. I'm talking about lasting results. So stick around to the end, my friend, as I share some practical tips for exercising safely and fueling your body with the proper nutrition as you pursue losing weight and reversing type 2 diabetes. In today's episode, you're going to learn how to get the most out of your exercise routine, as well as getting the most out of eating proper foods so that you can live a healthy, vibrant lifestyle. I'm going to give you some tips and recommendations on living a healthy lifestyle, my friend, that's sustainable, because that's what it's all about. So thank you for joining me on this week's episode, which is called Balancing Exercise and Nutrition to Lose Weight and Reverse type 2 diabetes. So stick around to hear the rest of today's episode. You don't want to miss it. Let's go. Be sure to visit the website at www.beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com for access to free resources and other information that will help you along your journey. If you would like to submit a question or a comment about the show or to learn more about the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle, you can always email me at hello@beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Welcome to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with me, your host, Oscar Camejo. My goal is to help diabetics and non-diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. You know, when I was 268 pounds and diagnosed with type 2 diabetes back in August 2020, I was going through a whole bunch of stress and just dealing with a whole bunch of kind of negative self-talk, negative self-perception. I'm like, man, how did I get myself in this mess? You know, I was big, folks. I was 268 pounds. I was obese. I was sluggish. I was tired. And I was like, man, I have to turn things around. You know, it's been over 3 years now. since I was first diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Leaving the hospital after spending roughly about a week or so and getting nursed back to health, I was determined to turn my health around. I mean, folks, I had to. My doctor was like, look, man, you have to lose weight. You have to turn things around, or, you could be at risk for getting a heart attack or having a heart attack and developing heart disease and some other stuff. And that was some crazy news, man. I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to allow diabetes to take me out. So it was at that time that I was focused on losing weight. But my focus then early on was really on exercise. And I was like, okay, I need to lose weight. So I was like, okay, I need to exercise. But it wasn't until later that I realized, you know what? I need to also be focusing on nutrition and the things that I'm putting in my body because, I had reached the plateau. I had gone from 268 pounds to about 244, and then roughly around 200 and I want to say about 35 pounds or so. I reached a plateau. So yeah, I had reached the point where I had lost some weight, but it just seems like I was just staying at this one level. And I'm like, okay, why am I not losing any more weight? And it dawned on me that I was still eating some of the same foods that I was eating before. A lot of rice, a lot of breads, a lot of pasta, potatoes, and so forth, even fried foods, eating a lot of sweets and so forth. So I'm like, okay, I need to make some more changes because it wasn't just about exercise. So I learned later on to prioritize nutrition. Now, that doesn't mean I just stop exercising and just focus on nutrition. No, again, I learned to achieve balance. That didn't happen overnight. I had to learn. The more books I read, the more information and articles that I read about nutrition and losing weight and reversing type 2 diabetes, the more and more I learned the importance of achieving balance. Because, after all, folks, you cannot out exercise a bad diet. I say that often. And now let me say that again. You cannot out exercise a bad diet. That's why it's important to achieve a good balance. So if you're new to this podcast, I talk a lot about nutrition and healthy eating, as well as other topics around living healthy and maintaining a healthy lifestyle, including physical exercise. I believe there has to be a good balance, folks. There's not, prioritize one thing and disregard another thing. No, we should achieve proper balance. My goal actually is to help you find a sustainable balance between nutrition and exercise. You see, folks, exercise and nutrition are like the duo Batman and Robin when it comes to your journey and healthy living. But why do they work together and why are the two so important? Exercise and nutrition. Well, picture this. Exercise gets your heart pumping, your muscles moving, and helps improve insulin sensitivity. Type 2 diabetes happens because your body no longer is sensitive to insulin, to the insulin that your pancreas is supposed to be producing and so forth, right? So exercise helps to regulate insulin sensitivity, right? But now what about nutrition? Nutrition is like fueling your body with all the right stuff to keep it running smoothly. It's like giving your car premium gasoline, the gasoline that it needs and that it deserves. So your body needs fuel. Your body also could use a lot more movement. And so I want to move into this next part of this episode, and I want to talk about exercise. Now, before I get into that, I do want to thank everybody for tuning in to this week's episode. I have people who tune in from all over the world, literally. The podcast is listened to in over 42 countries. Big shout out to folks living in Africa and UK and even in Asia and just different parts of the world, including the US, of course. So The things that I'm talking about on this podcast episode can apply across the board. So I definitely want to thank everybody for tuning in and just sticking with me, especially those who've been following me for the long haul, who've been here from or since day one. So just big shout outs to my day ones, as they say. Those of you who are focusing a lot on exercise, and you may not be focusing enough on nutrition, I want to talk to you about the benefits of exercise. Exercise is great. I don't want you to slow down when it comes to, or stopping when it comes to exercise, so you can just focus on nutrition. Again, we want to achieve proper balance. You see, I believe that we should all strive to move more, move better, and move consistently. Becoming more active changed my life, folks. I can't stress that enough. Yes, I was focused a lot on exercise because that's what I knew at the time. But I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I didn't just focus just on nutrition and forget about, exercising. And I'm also glad that I just didn't stick with just doing a lot of exercising and nothing, and have nothing to do with nutrition. Again, balance is the key to life. You see, folks, becoming more active not only changed my life, but I saw it starting to change the lives of other people around me that I would meet at the gym, people I would talk to at work, and even people that I would meet on the streets, and I would hear their story, whether it's people I met at the grocery store or at the gas station, just different places. And people would just talk about, man, I started cycling more. I started going to the gym more, started walking more. And it just really showed that people can do it. I mean, everyday people. I'm not talking about athletes and so forth. I'm talking about everyday people like you and me. You see, I went from being very sedentary, not moving a lot, and I was overweight, as I mentioned before. I went from that to living a very active lifestyle and losing over 80 pounds, folks, in less than a year. You see, if I can do it, I know you can too. I used to hate running. I mean, when you talk about going up and down the block, I used to hate it, man. And I hated it because of the pain that I would feel in my legs, especially in my ankles and my knees. My knees, had a lot of inflammation, and just my body just ached. My back used to ache, and I just used to hate running outside. So I would just walk. And there's nothing wrong with walking, but I didn't challenge myself to do more because it was just uncomfortable. So nowadays, folks, I love running. I run every day now. I pretty much run 3 or more miles a day, and it feels so good. And to be honest, I've even ran in a few 5K races and did a 10K race not too long ago. And I have some other things coming up in the near future, and it just feels good. I love exercising. I love moving. I have eliminated the excuses from working out and so forth, but it used to be a struggle, folks, even going to the gym. I remember pulling up to the gym some days and just sitting in my car. And I'm like, man, I'm just tired and I don't want to go in this gym. I don't want to put in the work, but I know I need to. And so I used to just sometimes sit in the car and I would fall asleep in the car, folks. And then I was like, okay, I would wake up and I'm like, okay, Oscar, you got to get inside. And I would drag my feet into the gym, and whatever the workout was for that day, it may have been hard, but I felt such a sense of accomplishment after completing that workout. And I kept showing up. I kept doing it. And it just became easier and easier. Now, that did not happen overnight, folks. I'm telling you. And for you, it may not happen overnight. So, yes, I eventually developed the love of exercising. And I encourage you to keep at it because you will eventually enjoy and love exercising. Because again, the key is to move more, move better, and move consistently. And that's whether it's in the gym. Like for me, I also love trail running. I didn't mention that. I love biking. I love hiking. I love swimming. So for me, I do feel better now. I have more energy now. And I live a lifestyle that is diabetes free and medication free. But it took some time, folks. So you're on your journey, right? To not only losing weight, and if you're dealing with type 2 diabetes, or maybe you know someone who is dealing with type 2 diabetes and they're wanting to reverse it, send it into remission, get off medication. It's doable, folks, in many cases. So again, move more, move better, and move consistently. Now you may say, okay, how, Oscar? Okay, well, here's my exercise tip number 1. I want you to find your rhythm. You too can find your rhythm and get to the point where you're enjoying exercising more and feeling great. Now, when I say find your rhythm, no, I don't want you to do exactly what I did and do the exact same workout programs that I did, or maybe someone else that you see is doing right now. Instead, I want you to find your own groove by enjoying physical exercises that you love. Again, you may go to the gym and you see these guys who are lifting all these heavy weights and doing all this other stuff, or even cross training. That doesn't mean you have to do it. That doesn't mean that in order to get results, you have to, be in the gym for 3 and 4 hours like you see some of these people doing and lifting heavy weights and, all this other stuff. No, you got to find your rhythm. You see, just like in music, there's that consistent rhythm. It's a sustainable rhythm that you can follow when it comes to your exercise and your routine. You see, again, the goal is consistency for the long haul and not a short-term plan just to lose weight quickly, quick, fast, in a hurry. That's why so many people who jump on these exercise plans just so they can lose weight in a short period of time, they eventually gain that weight back because they got bored. It wasn't a lot of variety, and they reached a plateau and were not seeing any results. So the point is, have fun, folks. And if you're having fun, you will most likely stick to it. And that's the whole goal. Stick to it. Build your own rhythm. Go at your own pace. Do things that you love to do. So with that being said, here's exercise tip number 2. I want you to mix it up. You see, variety is important. Try to avoid doing one type of exercise every single day. Can you imagine every day of the week you get on the treadmill and you're doing exactly 30 minutes and that's it? 7 days a week. That may be something that you're enjoying doing right now, but consider the fact that, maybe that will get boring after a while. Maybe you've already experienced that because you're like, you know what? I go into the gym and all I know to do is do the elliptical or the treadmill and maybe lift a few weights, and that's all I know to do. So that has become your quote unquote routine, but you're now getting to that point where it just feels stagnant. So that's why I want you to explore different ways to exercise. Mix it up a little bit. Consider switching between cardio and conditioning exercises. Do some strength training. You can do some flexibility work and even some mobility exercises. I try to incorporate all of that in 1 week just so I can keep it fresh. And I'm not doing the same routine every single day because I like change. I like variety. I like mixing it up, folks. And I know people who are achieving great results because they vary what they do. Like I said, I'm not in the gym. I'm not only in the gym, but I go hiking. I go trail running. I go running, on the roads. I do resistance training. I do all kind of things. I do high intensity workout trainings. I love to sweat. I love the fast mobility. Even when I'm running, I like to do some, really slow runs some days. Other days I may pick it up a pace. And when I'm running out in the streets, I'll go in different directions. Even if I'm going along the same route, I'll switch it up a little bit and go in a different direction. I'll take a different street and discover new places to run. And I just keep it fun. So you get my point. Again, mix it up. You see, this helps to keep things interesting, and it'll help you work different muscle groups. So remember, the goal is to challenge yourself to move more, move better, and move consistently. Capiche? All right, let's move on. Let's talk about nutrition. Nutrition is one of my favorite topics, and I can talk about nutrition all day long, but I'll spare you that. So here's the thing. I want you to strive to give your body what it needs and not what it craves. Yeah, I know that's easier said than done, but let me say this, though. We're not talking about going on a super strict diet plan, though. That makes you feel like you're missing out on life. People kind of clown me sometimes and they're like, oh man, Oscar, I don't want to eat a whole bunch of rabbit food and that's it. Well, I don't eat rabbit food either. I vary what I eat. I love giving my body what it needs. And the more I have done that, my body craves less and less of the stuff that's not so good. So it's all about enjoying food while making smart choices, folks. You don't have to go on a highly restrictive diet and give up things that you love to eat. You're just choosing better options. Like I love steak. The ribeye steak is one of my favorite cuts. As a matter of fact, that's what I cooked for dinner tonight with some veggies. I didn't stop eating ribeye because I'm trying to quote unquote live healthy. No. What I do is how I prepare my food is differently than how I used to eat before. I eat a lot more vegetables and I make sure I get healthy proteins, lean proteins, and healthy fats and fiber and so forth. So again, the goal is to make smarter choices, even how we prepare food and the things that we're putting in our bodies. So I want you to focus on eating foods that will nourish your body with proper nutrition, such as the proteins I mentioned. You want to get good carbohydrates in your body. Carbs aren't bad, folks. It's just the type of carbs that you put in your body that makes all the difference. I want you to get more healthy fats in your body, like avocados, mixed nuts, and so forth. And we can't forget about fiber. Fiber is really good for digestion and helps to regulate your blood sugar and so forth. So focus on foods and drinks that won't spike your blood sugar and eventually lead to more cravings. You see, early on, I didn't know why, even though I was exercising, why was my blood sugar level still high after quote unquote, exercising and making healthier exercise choices? Well, I was still eating a lot of bread. I was eating a lot of rice and refined carbs and so forth. I was drinking sports drinks and sweet teas and lemonades. And I'm like, okay. So my blood sugar is being impacted because of these certain foods that I was eating. So the more and more I started learning about nutrition and the glycemic index of food, basically how when you eat a certain food, how it impacts your blood sugar. The more I learned about that, the more I was able to make smarter choices when it comes to eating food. So I want you to focus on foods that are also not high in sodium, foods that are not highly processed. Just because you get a can of whatever and it says that it's a good source of protein, you still need to pay attention to whether or not that food is highly processed or not. You also want to look at foods that are not so full of added sugar. You definitely want to avoid sugary foods, and just anything that has a lot of added sugar. Believe it or not, sometimes you may think, well, let me get a bag of dried fruit. And you're like, well, I'm eating fruit. But if you look at how that bag of fruit was processed, sometimes they sprinkle a lot of sugar on it for taste. And they add additional sugars and flavorings for taste, and it's still impacting your blood sugar, like the dried raisins and dried dates and some of these other fruits. So kind of look at that. as well. Also, I want you to focus more on foods that are grilled or baked and less on fried foods. For example, chicken wings. If you love chicken wings, I love chicken wings. You may want to look at, okay, well, let me have grilled or baked wings instead of fried wings. Same thing with French fries. When I bought an air fryer, I'm like, okay, hey, I love sweet potatoes, and I love French fries. But you know what? I don't need to be eating foods that have been doused in oil and cooked in all this highly saturated fat oils and so forth. So I switched to air frying sweet potatoes, making my own sweet potato fries at home and so forth. So just kind of think about that. Again, choose more grilled options and baked options and less fried options. Early on when I would stop and get something at a fast food place, like let's say like a salad or something like that, I would get grilled chicken as opposed to getting fried chicken on the salad. So that's something to consider when you're making changes. And again, you can make small incremental changes that will lead to bigger and lasting results. Overall, I believe if you eat more of the healthy stuff, you will eventually eat less of the not so healthy stuff because you'll be developing a routine and a mindset of, you know what, I need to be more conscious of the things that I put in my body. And I know it gets tough sometimes. You're around friends and family and even coworkers, and they may pressure you to just eat something that's really not in the scope of what you want to be eating in terms of being healthy and so forth. But, it's up to you. No one can force you to eat, a bucket of fried chicken or a bunch of hamburgers and other stuff like that. You get to be in control of what you put in your body. So here are a couple of tips, a couple more tips that I want to share with you. Okay, here's tip number one. Fill your plate with color and variety. Did you know that vegetables and fruit are packed with a bunch of essential nutrients and phytonutrients based on color? Yeah, that's right. There's a book that I have. It's called The Fruit and Vegetable Bible. It breaks down the nutrient content of vegetables and fruit, as well as it shares their health benefits. You can look up certain foods like spinach and learn how spinach helps to lower blood pressure. It helps with digestion, supports healthy vision, and so much more. There's another book titled Healing Foods, Eat Your Way to a Healthier Life. I love that book because it helps to break down food by color and variety if you want to focus on making sure you consume more phytonutrients and other nutrients to even deal with certain issues that you may be having. For example, red vegetables and fruits such as tomatoes, watermelon, cranberries, grapes, and red cabbage can actually help to protect against heart disease, cancer, vision loss, and other conditions. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, this book is great. And that's how I learned to just eat by variety of colors and so forth. What about green fruits and vegetables such as kale, cucumbers, zucchini, avocados, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and asparagus? These green fruits and vegetables actually will help you to boost your immune system. It could be like, for example, green apples. There are other green foods that can help improve your skin health. And I know skin health is very important to a lot of people. So you may want to consider the impact and the benefits of eating more green foods. As a matter of fact, I like to start the day with something green, lots of green foods. So think about it. If you think of like the stoplight right here in the United States and in other countries, green means go. So the first thing you want to do is go green in the morning, whether you're making a smoothie or you are making breakfast and you have some eggs Make sure you throw something green in there. If you make an omelet with spinach or kale or something like that. So, but you get my point. Green foods can also help to detoxify and boost your energy. They can also help to support hormone balance. So, again, consider eating by color and eating by variety. The point is that there are so many benefits to eating a colorful plate. So focus eating more vegetables, like I mentioned, more fruit, more whole grains, lean protein, and healthy fats. And real quick, a little bit about protein and fats. Proteins are the building blocks of muscles, it is said. So proteins actually help you to build and maintain muscle. But that doesn't mean that, okay, well, if you just start eating protein, you're automatically going to bulk up. No, you want to fuel your body, specifically your muscles, with good protein, lean protein, whether that's, plant-based protein or animal protein and so forth. And I know there's certain people that have certain beliefs about eating animal protein and so forth. And some may decide, okay, well, for moral reasons, I just don't want to eat animal protein. That's up to you. But the point is, you want to feed your body with protein, lean proteins to help you to maintain muscles, especially as you age. Also, when it comes to fats, I want you to start focusing on eating more healthy fats because healthy fats are great for heart health. And trust me, you don't want to get to the point where it's like, oh man, fats are not good for you. I need to stay away from fats. No, I know back in the day, it was like, okay, fat free this, fat free that. But, our bodies actually use lipids or fats to help keep our heart healthy and keep our blood vessels healthy and so forth. So don't run away from fats. So avocados are great, folks. They're a great source of healthy fats. The same thing with mixed nuts and so forth. Okay. Like I said, I could talk for hours when it comes to food and proper nutrition. But my overall goal in this episode was really to help you to whet your appetite when it comes to making healthier choices. So here is another tip that I want to leave with you. Think of it as tip number 2. Remember, practice portion control. You see, it's not just about what you eat, but also about how much you eat. Now you don't have to whip out the scale and your food scale and measure every single thing that you put in your body. Some people do that because they're trying to, only eat a certain amount of calories a day. I mean, that's fine. I've never counted calories. I've never done any of that. I'm not against it. But I just knew for me, I just needed to just make sure that I'm controlling my portions. I know what my plate should look like. I adopted the plate method. And I know that I want to have half of my plate to be full of vegetables. And another third of my plate would be my protein, such as, let's say fish, salmon, or it could be beef or something like that. And the other third would be sometimes like a carb, such as a sweet potato or something like that. But again, the goal is to practice portion control. Think of it like a palm-sized portion of protein, a fistful of vegetables, a cup of whole grains, a thumb-sized serving of healthy fats. You see what I'm saying? So hopefully you get the point of what I'm making. So let's move on. What about consistency? I've talked a lot about, sustainability and developing a lifestyle that you can sustain for the long haul. So consistency is very important, folks. So before we wrap up, I want to talk about the golden rule of this lifestyle shift that I've been talking to you about. And that golden rule is consistency. See, I can talk to you all day about, how to exercise, what to do when you want to build muscle, if you want to be more flexible, and so forth. I could talk to you all day about eating healthy foods and what are some ideas and so forth. But at the end of the day, consistency is a key to results. Consistency is the key to breakthrough. It's not about doing everything perfectly every day, eating the perfect meal every day, doing the perfect exercise every day. No, it's about making those small, sustainable changes that add up over time, folks. They say Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So this lifestyle of health and nutrition and exercise consistency, that's not going to happen overnight, folks. It's going to take some time to build up a regimen to where it becomes second nature. So keep showing up, my friend. Keep putting in the work. That's on your good days and on your not so good days. Make up your mind that you will consistently move more and move better. Make up your mind that you will consistently eat better. Now, remember, consistency is what you determine is doable and sustainable. Remember, don't take on somebody else's consistency and try to go to the gym 7 days a week because you see somebody else doing it. Don't try to run, 10 miles a day if that's not where you are right now. Focus on the mile a day, or even half a mile a day if you want to get into running. The key again is to develop consistency. And remember, don't overdo it in the gym, by going, okay, I'm going to go hard 1 week and 2 weeks back to back, only to get down the road, by the third week, and you're just way too exhausted to keep going. Instead, I want you to pace yourself because you don't want to fall off. You don't want to go ham, if you will, and just, you're just in there vigorously working out every day, and you end up getting unnecessarily sore, and you're in pain because you heard that no pain, no gain, and you're watching these videos about these guys who used to be Navy SEALs and they're doing all these different workouts. They're doing the P90X exercise. And you're like, man, that's me. I'm just going to go hard. Folks, you don't have to go hard every day, especially if you're starting out or you're getting back in the groove of things. Pace yourself. Start with 2 or 3 days a week of exercise. Okay, so you get my point about exercising consistently and mixing in some rest days and so forth. So as for eating healthier, folks, that's where you really want to make sure that you are achieving a good, sustainable routine of eating healthier. Again, I want you to eat out less and begin cooking more. Eat less junk food and start eating more healthier foods consistently. I got to the point where it's like, you know what? Cheap meals, if you will, and the junk food, whatever, leaving that for the weekend. That was early on. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to have something, I need to earn it. I need to earn that cookie, and I'm not going to eat that cookie or that hamburger until the end of the week. And so the more and more I kept pushing off the cheap meals to the end of the week, I started looking back and I'm like, you know what? I've been doing so good with eating and exercising that, you know what? I just didn't have a taste for the cheap meals at the end of the week. Instead of the 3 cookies, I would just get 1 cookie, on a Saturday, and that's it. So again, consider leaving the junk food and the cheap meals for the end of the week. Even then, I don't want you to splurge out on burgers and fries and sweets and a bunch of other mess that would only set you back when you start the next week. Don't do that, folks. And here's another thing too. One thing that I had to be mindful of, even after I lost all that weight and I was maintaining a healthy lifestyle, there was a point where I was like, you know what, man, I'm doing good. I deserve, a cookie, here or there. I deserve a treat. Let me get a pie or something like that, a slice of pie. I had to be mindful because there was this deception of progress, I guess. It's like, yeah, I made all this progress. And it's like, okay, let me just go and stop by this very popular cookie place, right? And I would get a cookie. And I'm like, oh man, okay, that wasn't bad. Yeah, it raised my blood sugar, but hey, I'm still beating diabetes. I'm not going into relapse, if you will. And I'm doing good. So that one cookie would turn into two cookies. Like, okay, well, I can eat a cookie and a brownie and some ice cream on top of that. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I had to wise up and like, you know what, Oscar, you don't want to go backwards. So yes, enjoy the one cookie if you want to. But don't go all out. Don't go overboard, folks, because, it's just going to set you back. Because you know what? During that time where it's like I lost all that weight, I noticed I was gaining more fat, though, after a while because I was getting those cheat meals and getting those sweets and stuff like that. So I just got to the point where it's like, you know what? Nope, I'm not going backwards. I'm going forward. So you get my point. There you have it, folks. The lowdown on balancing exercise and nutrition to help you on your journey to losing weight and kicking type 2 diabetes in the backside. Remember, this isn't about drastic changes. It's about embracing a lifestyle that's good for you, that's good for your body, and that's doable for the long haul. So move more, move better, move stronger, move happier, folks. Trust me. Do the things that I've shared with you, and you will reap the benefits. Start eating more for better health and better vitality. Trust me, your body will thank you for it. Well, there you have it, folks. I appreciate you all for tuning in. So as always, folks, remember, stay focused, keep moving, never go back, leap forward, bounce back because you can, my friend. And above all else, trust God. You got this. I believe in you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with Oscar Camejo. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for motivational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care by a physician or other healthcare professional or qualified fitness instructor. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you're looking for help on your journey, seek a qualified medical practitioner. It's important that you utilize someone who is a trained, licensed healthcare professional who can help you on your journey toward good health.